So my name is Mela Sarkar. Est-ce que tout le monde me comprend si je parle anglais? Je parle pas trop vite. I think I speak really fast, but I won't. So that's me with Madeleine Parent, who is one of our marraines au centre, one of our kind of godmothers, and people may know of her. And on the other side is another one of our marraines, Bijaya Moulay, who has passed on now, but has been very. They both passed on. They've been very present in our. I forgot my notes in our sort of trajectory to becoming part of the mainstream feminist movement in Quebec. And the point that I have to make here on behalf of my center is that we belong to the Quebec English community. And we also belong to Quebec very much. So Dolores, who is the other speaker today, and who is the first author, because her name begins with C and mine begins with S, was unfortunately not able to get away from family stuff, and she's really sorry. She would have liked to come. We should have come together, and she would have done the English, and I would have done the French. And I want to also recognize that we're in Montreal, which is on land which was stolen. Let's face it, mostly from the Gahaga. And I know some of them, and they agree that it was stolen, and I'm really sorry it was stolen, but there's not much we can do right now. So I put tabarnouche into the title because I know how to use this word, and you have to emphasize that we belong. Here's Dolores, and she says hi. And she and I have known each other for way more than 30 years, I forget, because our center has been around for a long time. So I'm just reminding you now where South Asia is. Because, especially in Francophone contexts, people have a tendency to say l'Asie du Sud-Est. No, that's Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, not South Asia. South Asia is India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, and other little countries around there like islands and Bhutan and Nepal and stuff. So this shows you that, I don't have a pointer, it'd be nice, but anyway. This shows you that for a long time, all of South Asia was under British domination, the British Raj, which lasted from, as you probably know, 1747 to 1947, 49. So for that long time, this whole geographical area was under the influence of English, and English became one of the languages of South Asia as a result. That's why I'm speaking to you now in English, basically why Dolores and I, why our center, we speak English there. So it's present in all areas of South Asian life, as you can see. And the little map on the right shows you the main languages of this region.
Sorry, the screen is not being shared live. No.
I'll just carry on and do a little geographic thing. So because my background is actually in linguistics and applied linguistics, and I'm a faculty member at McGill, and Dolores is a faculty member at the Marianopolis College in Montreal, but that's not relevant to what we're doing today at all. So we're here for the center. So some of you may know that the South Asian geographic area, if linguists start to count the languages, they kind of give up at around 1500. Okay, that's distinct languages where people do not understand each other. So it's a very diverse area linguistically and ethnically. It's way more diverse than Europe. Okay, so people kind of don't get that. So I'm just pointing that out. How are we doing?
We'll be okay.
Okay.
There's some to partage. I know.
We can go to the next screen now if, okay.
Yeah, because it was being shared, it said shared, but we thought to close it and restart it again.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So now what you want to do is close the little bar so that people can see what's underneath.
I'm just gonna check, Anita, is it working now, the shared screen?
Seems so here.
Okay, wonderful.
Awesome. Okay. But I'll try not to talk too fast.
Okay.
Okay, so can we? It takes a sec. Okay, so our center started in 1981. 43 years is a really long time for a women's center that started with zero money, right? It began with women who had come from South Asia in the 1960s, usually as wives of their professional husbands who came as, lawyers and professors and stuff, because it was only in that decade that immigration from South Asia was allowed. We had a white immigration policy before that. Some of you may know that. So my dad, for example, came in 52. He was one of the early guys. So women who were here and feeling very isolated decided to kind of get together and have social stuff. And gradually over time, we got funding, we got, you know, a location, and we're now very, very solid in the Montreal landscape. So much so that when families get off the plane and they're brown and, you know, they're dressed like, you know, South Asians and nobody can understand them, they give us our phone, the customs and immigration people give them our phone number. Say, call them. Okay, because they don't know what to do with them. They can't talk to them if they don't speak English. So we've been doing these different things, social stuff, but also like political lobbying stuff very, very intensively. I have to not forget this. Okay, and also you know, services for our users. So one of the important things we do is we help women who are in difficulty, especially women in situations of conjugal violence, where it's very difficult for South Asian women to even imagine getting out of that cycle. And we are there to help them find shelters and lawyers and okay. So that I think it's one of the most important thing we do anyway. And our common language is English because of the historical reasons that I just told you. So here's one of our projects, which is called SAWCC, South Asian Women, Autonomous and Independent, where our workers, you see one of our workers in the foreground, it's a selfie. They actually go and knock on doors in Park Extension, in Côte des Neiges, in areas where there's lots of South Asian immigration and a high turnover. They have flyers, they have all sorts of ways of reaching out to women, because I don't know if you're aware that women, especially not from the educated classes in this part of the world, are usually married without knowing their husband before, right? They're usually arranged marriages, and they may come knowing nobody except their husband, who they also don't know because they married him last week. And they're then cut off from their entire network of, you know, sisters and aunties and friends. And it's a very sex segregated society, certainly in the less educated like classes, which is most of India. So they may come and be extremely isolated. And it's, even if they're married to somebody good, that's not fun. And if they're married to somebody not so good, it's really not fun. So we really try and go out and haul them in and let them know that we're there. So here's just a little brief intro. So you see in the middle on the left there, you see Dolores, because she was president at that time. And I've been president, and we've kind of all taken turns being president. So that's our executive council on the left from a couple of years ago, I think, because I'm not in it. And our workers on the right, that's last year. So you see sort of, I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but how diverse we are. We just probably all look like brown women in South Asian outfits, but we're actually very diverse. So you see at the bottom that we make sure that the languages that you see, there's a couple missing from the main South Asian languages, but we always have a worker who speaks one of these languages, so that when a woman calls or comes, we can help her in her language. Because that's the problem, is the mainstream women's movement is very well-meaning and amazing, but it cannot help someone who only speaks Tamil or who only speaks Bengali or something, right? So we are the transition place for them. And in that role, we have been very active in telling the Fédération des Femmes du Québec, where I was our representative for quite a while, and we've had several other people representing us there, telling them that they had to let us in, kind of, right? Because they would say things like, "Mais vous n'êtes pas ouvert à tout le monde." It's like, yes, we are. You can come if you speak French. We can speak French to you, but somebody Tamil can't go to the Centre des Femmes de Laval. They can't speak to her. Okay, like, you know, knock, knock, knock. Eventually they let us in, and we come in for a slice of the funding and everything, which is great. So this shows you Dolores again, because I really want you to see Dolores, because she's not here, when she was the rep for the FFQ. And we're involved in various other you know, things that are happening in Montreal around, like the Immigrant Workers Center and Femmes de diverses origines, and this thing you see, ressources contre l'abus envers les aînés, which one of us started, and stuff like that. So there's all sorts of like local groups that we're involved with, and we have been for a long time now. So this shows you, no problem. So this shows you one of the marches that Femmes des diverses origines organized on International Women's Day a few years ago. It just shows us marching with them, just to give you an idea. I'm actually not very good at marching, but Dolores is awesome. She's always there at the march. I'm too lazy. And this is another one where you see our multilingual banner, which we try and take, and you probably recognize some of the languages. Now I want to be a teacher and say, which languages do you recognize? No, it's okay. And that was right. Okay. So okay. So the younger, like these women came in the 60s. I was born in 58. Like our children have grown up in Quebec. My kids have, Dolores's kids have. Our grandchildren are now growing up in Quebec. They are the Québécoises de demain, really. And they are trilingual. They speak French at school because, of course, they have to go to French school because of Bill 101. They usually speak English with their family, some of us. They have relatives somewhere who speak English because they're part South Asian or all South Asian. And they may also speak their South Asian language well. So they're in that large group of young trilingual Montrealers. And this shows you our summer camp, which you see that on the left underneath, and that shows you like the kids every summer we have a summer camp because we're just across from Parc La Fontaine, so we mostly turf them out into the park, but they are around a lot. And the language of the summer camp is French, right? So our counselors always have to be very fluent in French. And then on the right, you see our SAY project, South Asian Youth, where we have workers that we have to work hard to get the money to pay them. But once we have them, they go into high schools and they talk to South Asian girls, high school age girls, who may have a very hard time, especially if their parents are more traditional. Because with a South Asian parent, you cannot talk about sex at all. I know, I had one. Okay, my mother was gone for a long time and she wasn't South Asian, but they won't engage. So anything about sexuality or dating, or especially if you're queer, which I also am, and stuff like that, no way can the parents. So it's really good to have a project in the schools that have a high percentage of South Asian kids, where there's someone they can talk to about stuff like that. So that's one of the things we do, which I think is really good. And this shows you just another demo that happened quite recently, where we were out there with 1,000 other groups or something, trying to agitate for more funding. This is just very typical of what we do. And this worker you see is good at the selfies, so I thought I would put that in. And I think I am going to end exactly right on time, because this is the last slide. So that's just to say that this is us marching somewhere. I can't remember where, because I've actually been a member. We started in 1981. My sister was living in Montreal at that point. I wasn't. So she was one of the founding members. Dolores was one of the founding members. I came a few years later. So I've been there for more than 30 years, but less than 40. I can't exactly remember. So this is just to show you, the whole point of us having gotten into the colloquium is to say, we're part of the English speaking community of Quebec, damn it, which is tabarnouche. And we don't feel we need to prove anything to anybody, but we thought that this would be a use, maybe new for some people here. You may not know about us. You may not know that the center exists, that we're very active in the feminist community and in the South Asian community. And for a long time, actually, I have 30 more seconds. Okay. For a long time, we were SACC, South Asian Community Center. We didn't call ourselves Women's Community Center because until we were extremely well established and had a good reputation, there were definitely men in the South Asian community who would not have let their wives come if they thought we were feminists. And they were like, those lesbian homebreakers, no way, you're not leaving the house to go there. So seriously, okay, so it's true. So eventually we acquired the confidence and we were old enough, and the husbands of some of us were old enough to, older and able to sort of put a damper on things. And just as a little coda, I'll just say that whenever you have South Asians from all these parts of South Asia in any city, you have a lot of them, okay? So you have as many political groups as you have ethnic groups. So you have the Bengalis, you have the Pakistanis who are Sindhi speaking, the Pakistanis who are Urdu speaking, you have the Sri Lankan Tamils, you have the mainland Tamils, you have all these different groups, and they're all men. And we are all those ethnicities and languages together, and we are all women, and we work perfectly well together. We never fight. So that's it. And I've come to the end of my time. I made it on time. Okay, thank you very much.